Welcome all to the next section under the ethology. And this presentation will be dealing with motivation. And at the end of the topic under motivation, you'll be learning about the definition of motivation, what are the different phases of motivation, and the various models put forward by ethologists that explains the motivational behavior. Okay, so what is motivation? Motivation is actually an internal state of individual organism that arouses a goal-oriented activity. So all those activity here refers to the behavior. Okay, so all those behavior shown by an organism to achieve a goal. So that is what is referred as a motivation. So mode, drive, urge, or readiness of an animal to perform certain goal-oriented behavior is considered as motivation. Okay, so drive, it could be from within, that is internal, and so the organism may show certain behavior for the attainment of a goal. And once the goal is achieved, that particular motivation may go down. So we'll be dealing with in detail later. Now, what is a goal, first of all? Goal is actually a state of affairs that can cause the cessation of a particular behavior or activity. For example, if you are speaking about a hungry animal shows a certain pattern of behavior, shows a set of behavior that is actually related with finding the food and eating the food. So it may have to search for the food, it may locate the food, and once it is located the food, it has to eat it. Okay, so here the internal state that has triggered the activity, it is actually the hunger. Okay, now what is a goal-oriented activity here? Goal-oriented activity is actually searching for the food, all the behaviors shown for searching the food, the behavior associated with locating the food, and then eating the food. So all these put together is what is referred as a motivation. And what is the goal? Goal is actually getting fed or eating the food. Okay, so that is the goal. I hope it is clear. So here what we can see that a motivated activity is complete when the goal is reached. So the goal, it is also called as a reward or incentive, being some substance, object, or an environment, any environmental condition capable of reducing or eliminating temporarily the complex of internal conditions which had initiated that particular response. I hope it is clear. Okay. Now, each instinctive behavior has a certain motivational level at all the times. To bring about that behavior, instinctive behavior, obviously it is because of the motivation. Okay. So, at different times, the animals respond in different ways to the same stimulus. That is, the same stimulus may even trigger same intensity of the behavior or same kind of behavior at all the times. For example, a hungry dog would get up, sniff here and there, look around the food, around for food, and at this time, the motivational level for eating the food is at the maximum. Okay, so all this behavior, getting up, moving around, sniffing here and there, then looking around for food, all this behavior is part of motivational behavior. Okay, now here what happens? So it is moving about for attaining a particular goal, and at this particular point, the animal do have a highest level of motivation. And when it finds the goal, that is when the food is found, and when it starts to eat, and after eating a full meal, the motivational level goes down. It falls down to its minimum level. So this dog will not eat for next few hours. And by this time, what happens? The motivational level rises gradually. And once again, what happens is after a lapse of a few hours, when the level rises to its maximum, the dog would start looking for the goal once again, the same goal, that is a food. And it will start to show the same set of behavior pattern. Okay, and that is why it is known as a stereotyped. It is considered to be a stereotyped behavior. So the dog would respond to food differently when it is hungry and when it is full. Okay, it shows a different set of behavior. That is what is said, that at different times the animals respond in different ways to the same stimulus. Here the stimulus was the food, and the internally the hunger. Okay, the set of behavior or the pattern of behavior shown, it is the motivation behavior. Okay, so there seems to be an urge or internal drive to elicit a particular behavior at particular time. Okay, so here we can see that the behavior is actually triggered by the stimulus. Okay, the stimulus can be both internal as well as the external. Now, the same example, if we see, that is a dog that is kept for like without being fed for many hours. Okay, a dog which is kept for many hours without food, it moves about restlessly, and it is highly responsive to the smell or sight of the food. It responds to the stimulus uh, at a very high intensity. So it responds to this, even the smell or the sight of the food or any other stimulus associated with the food. Okay, such as the sight of the food bowl, the bowl in which it is being fed, or the sound of a knife being sharpened, which it has learned to associate with the food. So all this, it becomes a stimulus for the response shown by the dog. So it is not to be diverted by a bowl of water. Even if there is bowl of water or like it sees water, the behavior pattern is not being diverted. Okay, it is goal oriented, so it has to get the food, so it is oriented towards getting the food. Even with the presence of water, this particular urge or the drive is not being fulfilled, or it doesn't come down. Okay, so its restlessness continues till it has eaten. Okay, so from this example, we can see that the drive is striving towards some goal. Okay, it is actually pushes the animal towards some goal. Okay, so here the goal is a food. So does a food deprived dog uh, like is having a high feeding drive? So feeding drive, that is motivational level, is very high in this particular dog. So it is uh, reflected in restlessness, willingness to get food, or overcome some resistance to achieve the goal, and often by learning new techniques of achieving the goal, or it keeps on learning certain techniques to attain the goal in a new way. So the goal itself may be an object that it acted upon or ingested, as in the case of food, or it may be the execution of a pattern of behavior as in mating. Okay, so even the courtship rituals, the mating during the breeding period, it is also a motivational behavior. So here we can see that satiation is a drive reduction. Satiation means fulfillment or satisfaction of the particular drive or attainment of the goal. It is actually, it brings down the drive, it brings down the motivational level. So this is characterized by reduction in activity and in willingness to work for the goal. So motivated behavior then is a drive that leads to a goal directed behavior and the satisfaction of the particular need. Okay, so this is what is actually about the motivation, the goal, and the behavior associated with it. Now, the majority of the behavior patterns can be assigned to four categories. That is four major motivational systems, and this include feeding, uh, reproduction, flight, and fight. Okay. Within the large motivational systems, there can be many subunits of behavior that are more or less connected with each other. That is, for example, subunits of reproduction may include sexual behavior, nest building, taking care of younger ones, and all these subunits itself may have smaller stimulus that can trigger the particular behavior pattern. Okay, so these are the major motivational systems, and each of these larger motivational systems may have smaller subcategories. Okay, so we can see that these fulfillment of each of these subunits can finally result in the attainment of the particular major goal here. So next we can see the features of motivation. What are the different like features of motivation that explains behavior? Motivated behavior is distinguishable by these three features. The first one is the motivational behavior is always goal oriented or it is goal directed. That is, it is to the behavior directed towards the attainment of a specific goal. Okay, and its goal may be considered as a condition which leads to cessation, that is satisfaction or fulfillment. Okay, so goal, it is a condition which leads to the cessation of the particular behavior. Now, the second feature is that it is always associated with a drive or a push towards the goal, and this it is evoked by a stimulus. The stimulus, it could be internal or external, and the stimulus which triggers this particular behavior is referred as a sign stimulus, right? And always motivated behavior has three distinct phases, um, like the first one, the searching phase, then it is followed by orientation phase, and then finally the presence phase. And these stages are typically found in the feeding behavior, and this we can see in detail in the coming slides. Okay, now then we can see what are the different categories of motives or the drives. There are two categories, namely innate or the biological motives and the psychological motives. Biological drive or the biological motive, it results usually from basic needs of an organism like water, food, oxygen, sleep, warmth or coolness, etc. Okay, so, the internal conditions which arouse and direct an individual responses to objects and situations in the environment. It is being grouped into two. Okay, so the drive of the motive here refer to the internal conditions and that trigger and direct an individual's behavior to particular goal. Okay, so there are two kinds of drives. We have seen innate drive or the innate motive, or it is referred as a biological drive. Okay, now as we have already seen, the biological drive, it results usually from basic needs of an organism that include the water, food, oxygen, sleep, warmth, and coolness. Psychological motives, it results from needs like social approval, self-esteem, security, knowledge, etc. Now, the biological drives, as said, it is innate, although the ways in which they are satisfied are greatly influenced by learning and cultural factors. Um, it originates in the organism as undeniable biological requirement, and these drives motivate the behavior of organism in directions that lead to the required changes in the internal environment. For example, the hunger drive motivates the organism to seek and ingest food, which is necessary to maintain uh, health and metabolism. Prolonged failure to satisfy certain of the biological drives results ultimately in impaired health or a disease condition or even death of the individual. Okay. Now, psychological motives, they are acquired against the innate biological. Psychological motives are acquired and they result from experiences. These include curiosity about the success of career, for example, the passion to love or hate, etc. Okay, so I hope it is clear the categories of motives. Okay, now the feature, what you call the phases of motivated behavior, we'll be looking in detail in the coming slide. Okay.